The second one we're talking about today, Spain, Croatia, it was similar, but not, because Croatia does have Luka Modric. They have Brozovic. They've got a lot of top shelf talent, right? But Spain were kind of better at almost every position but Modric. So Spain should have won this match, but I mean, it was exciting. The things that I think we should talk again about here at Levon is the stars for Barcelona. I mean, I think one of the reasons Spain won this, I mean, we could talk about the other players, but Pedri, Busquets, Garcia, Alba, I think that's who we should focus on. So I'm going to let you go first on the Pedri point.
Pedri was just amazing. What a player. What a player. And it's kind of like, okay, we used to compare him to Iniesta because he does like some moves. He very clearly like emulated Iniesta when he was a kid. But I don't think he has that magic that Iniesta has. However, as far as setting the tempo goes, I think that's where he will evolve towards. More distributing the ball and setting the tempo of the match than taking players off the dribble and things like that. And in this sense, he always knows where the space is. He receives the ball. He knows which way to turn his body, where the escape route lies if he is under pressure. It's just a delight to watch. I just hope, because there was this news report coming out that he's going to the Olympics.
Yep, with Eric Garcia.
With Eric Garcia, and then I thought, okay, that sucks. But isn't the Olympics in like 2022? And then I Googled when the first game was, and it's like the 23rd of July.
Yep.
And that is just insane.
Yeah, it's going to be 100, and it's going to be like 106 or something, 107 matches for him in a calendar year. It's too much.
It's ridiculous.
Even 18 is too much.
It's absurd. I can see Eric Garcia going because, frankly, he needs to practice.
It's true. He played 12 times this year for Man City, and he played 6 times now. And then same with Oscar Mingueza. Mingueza's, he had his break about a month and a half, and so, about 3 weeks to a month and a half. So yeah.
But the whole idea of having a player and in the European Championships and in the Olympics during the same summer, like,
it's too much. Yeah,
it should not even enter anybody's mind. So we'll see what happens. I have a bad feeling about this. If we were any other team than Barcelona, who is the living embodiment of Catalunya, who is for years now on the front line of wanting to become independent. Like, if we were not in that situation, I don't think Pedri would be selected. Now, I think it's a situation where Spain says, we're going to take Pedri to the Olympics. Pedri is Spanish, and we don't care about the Catalan club that he plays for. So I think the player very much is a victim of this. And we'll see how it turns out. Because quite clearly, it's absurd that he got called up. It's ridiculous. It's the same if my employer would tell me after 1 year, no, you are not getting your vacation days.
Yeah,
but I need my vacation. You're not getting them. Yeah, but I really want you're not getting them.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is ceremonial and he pulls out. Depending on how far Spain goes. I mean, yes, they're in the quarterfinal now, but I wouldn't be surprised if let's say they do beat Switzerland and move on to the semifinal. I think every game that this goes on, it's less likely that he appears there. I remember the Olympics in 2016, maybe. It was the one that Neymar was called up to both the Olympics as an overage player and to the Copa America. And then he winds up going to just the Olympics. But he was called up to both. And that one was like the 11th hour. It was another one of those where basically the plane was leaving, and then it was announced that he wasn't going to Copa America. And then he winds up winning I think he won the Olympics in Brazil in 2016 or whatever it was. Yeah. So that did happen with Neymar, as he was a Barcelona player too, by the way. So that doesn't really refute your idea about the selecting not Catalan players, because Pedri's from Las Palmas, not from Catalonia. But yeah, I just want to reiterate what you said, that it's been funny to me watching on social media, the rest of the football world kind of noticing Pedri and getting to know the 18-year-old and kind of claiming that they're the ones who figured out that he's so good. But no, there's a reason why Luis Enrique is starting him every single match. There's a reason why Ronald Koeman started him every single match next to Messi. There's a reason why he's the youngest player to ever start in a Euro knockout. So what makes him most incredible, I think you did a good job explaining the tempo. And I think it's just that he does exactly what any manager asks of him, because Luis Enrique and Koeman are not asking the same thing of him. And to see how he has contorted and changed his game and adapted to the way that Luis Enrique wants to use him. Again, the way he defends when he needs to, he controls the play when he needs to, and he takes chances with the ball when that's what, Luis Enrique is asking him to be a bit more direct, because obviously there's no Messi in this squad. So Pedri is the one who has to kind of make a few more decisions. And then just that game against Croatia, he contributes directly to what was the buildup that resulted in at least two of those goals, particularly the second one that Azpilicueta, there we go, headed in. That one it was, I'd say 60% Pedri, leading up to that. And then he gets credited with that own goal. But obviously, and the broadcast here in the US is good to mention it. Yeah, not his fault at all. Simon has got to have that figured out. So yeah, Pedri, we're going to continue to praise him. We're lucky that he's at Barcelona, and we're hoping that he gets some kind of time off. I agree. Yeah.
I will say that, to your comment that there is a reason that he's the youngest Spanish player ever to play in a knockout game of an international tournament. The reason for that is that Ansu Fati is injured.
That's true. Well, I don't know, because he is a month younger than Ansu Fati. So if they both played in the game, then Pedri would still always be a month younger. So Pedri is going to continue to rack up the youngest ever too. So on the other edge of the age spectrum, though, is Sergio Busquets, who, after, just like Messi, I feel like people run out of words. And because you don't ever truly understand what he is, I do want to mention, there was an Athletic article that I was reading. I want to credit this because it inspires this conversation, from Dermot Corrigan, who's a really good journalist. You can read him on the Athletic. The word that kept popping up in that article was generous. And generous in the sense that Luis Enrique had said this week that he's generous in the way that he's willing to toe the line of getting yellow cards, 21 yellow cards and 123 caps, but never sent off. Generous at doing the right thing, whether that's a tactical foul, whether that's rolling on the ground, and his willingness to be the bad guy in the media, in the perception of the media, by crying more than other players, or just by being a little bit more of a character in that way. Of course, the peekaboo. The peekaboo is the most famous one. And for those listening, that was what Levon hinted at. And then the article was a lot about how he's now taking over for Sergio Ramos and being the captain of this team. And the fact that in the first two matches, everyone goes, oh, they're just not good enough. Then all of a sudden their captain comes back from COVID, and now they've scored 10 goals in 2 matches. And the other thing too, about the way Busquets plays, here's a very telling stat. 24% of his passes in the group stage were vertical or forward, compared to just 14% from Rodri, which is not the way you'd think of that. And Busquets had even more vertical or forward passes than Koke had in that round. And Koke was the one who created a lot of the best chances for the Spain national team. And then, yep.
Busquets plays further back, so you expect more forward passes from him.
Sure. Well, even chance creations has been very similar to Koke's number. Now, where I want to take this in is how we continue to characterize Busquets. Because again, after all these years, we're still on the podcast trying to figure out new ways to talk about him. So I would ask, how much do we actually know about Sergio Busquets? I was thinking about this week, about like social media and all this stuff. So we know he has a wife and 2 kids, but we never really see him on social media promoting anything. He, very rarely, maybe you'll see him do the jersey reveals, but he doesn't even put that on his own social media. And so I do wonder how the lack of a desire to win over the media and fans does hurt him, because as much as we say there was a Barca bubble, maybe Barca opinions of players are also formed by those outside the bubble. So because you don't hear that much about Busquets outside the bubble, it means that the only attention that he's really been getting is that because he's such a tough player to compliment outside of, the past, his past and the bubble, that everyone just kind of relies on the same compliments, that they gave him when he played with Iniesta and Xavi. And there's really no understanding of the way that he's evolved. And basically everyone just regurgitates the same question. Can he still do it? So when you watch Spain play and you wonder, can he still do it? Obviously, he's been the man of the match in the last two matches. He's the captain. He's only 31 years old. But then you watch Barcelona, and because of their personnel, you say, can he still do it?
I think the thing with Busquets is when things around him work, he's great. When it doesn't, then his weaknesses become pretty punishing for the team. So as long as you don't have to, as long as he doesn't have to defend a lot of space, he's amazing. The moment that there's too much space for him to defend, then that brings the team into trouble. So it's really a case of trying to maximize his strengths and minimize his weaknesses, which is the case for a lot of players, of course. It was also the case for, I think we talked about Mascherano the other day, where his weaknesses were that if you let in too many crosses, other teams will take advantage of that. However, if you stop other teams from crossing the ball as much, then all of a sudden Mascherano becomes a giant. And it's similar for Busquets. I will say that when in a very same way, when he is on, the man is such a delight to watch. And when he is off, it's maddening to watch him.
When he's off, his team loses. That's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Immediate
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when he's on, it's because the people around him do exactly what they need to do in order for him to play well. And when they do that, he makes everybody around him better as well.
Yeah, and three of the players that did that for Spain against Croatia were Pedri, Eric Garcia, and Jordi Alba, which I think is a bright sign. It's a positive sign. So yeah. I don't have anything more to add about Eric Garcia than I haven't already pantomimed the last 2 weeks in seeing him. Again, I continue to not be afraid that Eric Garcia is going to be maybe an important part of the Barcelona back line. If he's one of the 3 or 4 center backs, I'm in no way afraid of that. He controls the game, and he controls the game really well. The only worry is the same worry that he goes to anticipate so often that Barcelona and Spain will give up goals when his anticipation isn't perfect to the exact blade of grass it needs to be, because he just doesn't have the foot speed to catch up. But his anticipation is very, very good. And you see this with a lot of, even Company, even though that Eric Garcia is much better than Vincent Company. Reverse that. Vincent Company way better than Eric Garcia in the air. Vincent Company defended the same way. If he did not get his anticipation correct, he didn't really have the foot speed to catch up, but his anticipation was so often. And it's actually no surprise that who did Eric Garcia first? Who was his first captain? Who did he first learn first team football under? Vincent Company. Not to say that they're the same player, but I do find parallels there.
Is it not that, he relies on anticipating because he knows that if he stays back and covers, then defenders might get the best of him because he does not have the strength to hold them off?
I don't know if he's physically as weak as we think he is. We saw, I don't know, we saw, it's in the Netherlands, we saw De Ligt get, you'd think that De Ligt was, an 8-year-old child, the way that he was completely manhandled in that game by the Czech Republic. And Mateusz De Ligt is supposed to be a strong and powerful, the way that Jerome Boateng has been, knocked out. I'm not sure about that. I think he's not a hulking presence, but I also not sure. I also would say that he's still 20. So he's also growing into his body potentially. So again, none of those things, I think those are all valid points. I just don't think any of those distract me or detract me from thinking that he's going to be just fine at Barcelona. Every player has their issues and their weaknesses. And because we can isolate his so prominently, I'm hoping those are things he can improve upon. But I think the one thing we keep coming back to is I think we're all scared that he's not going to be able to improve upon or fix the problems that we see in his game right now.
For me as a signing, it's a no-brainer. He comes for free. He was willing to lower his salary as well. He's obviously very talented. And that means that, he's a great addition to the squad. Will he be a starter? I don't know. Will he ever be a starter? I don't know. Was it a smart signing? Of course, it's a smart signing, obviously. So the future will show us. But like I said, some people say, he's not good enough. Some people say, it's the best signing ever because he is the future of the club. Hold on. He's 20 years old. He played 12 games this season. He played, how many games did he play the season before that?
25.
25. I was going to say around 25 because he didn't start really playing until the second half of the season, right? So honestly, we have not seen enough of him to really know. I wonder though why Luis Enrique took him off at, what was it, the 65, 70 minute mark? Because it's a bit of a weird sub to make, just to take off your CB and put on another central defender. Like,
well, he's been doing that in every match. Every match that Eric Garcia started, he did that 3 times before now in this tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting move.
So I wonder what the logic is behind that.